All right, thank you. Thanks, Kirk. Pleasure to be here, and really happy we could work this out tonight and get this nice facility to do it, too. Can you all see this with the lights? We'll see if hopefully it's bright enough. We're talking about networked audio in general and audio over IP in particular. It's really kind of a subset of it. That audio over IP is a specific implementation of what's become known as networked audio. Networked audio is sort of this generalized term that means sort of anything where you move away from the sort of massively parallel kind of infrastructure that we've all grown up with using in audio, a single pair of cables for every signal in one direction typically, moving more towards a telecom model where multiple signals can share a single wire through serialization. And as long as your bandwidth is big enough, you can have a lot of packets on a single pair of wires. They can even go in both directions on the same cable, if not the same pair. And you can get a lot more done with a lot less hardware and infrastructure. So obvious appeal to that in terms of building, maintaining, and implementing facilities. Also, the scalability is really high because it's possible to build and add channels, add inputs, add layers into a router without really completely reconstructing the facility. And so there's a lot of interest in this area, and one place that it's really taken hold already is in the broadcast space. Broadcasters typically don't need quite the detail or the specificity that a lot of production facilities do. It's a little more like an audio console there, although there are faders. It's often used more like a switcher than an actual mixer. But nevertheless, there are needs that change day to day in terms of capacity. And broadcasters are certainly also a cost-conscious lot. So this has taken a hold there. And there are about, I'd say, a half a dozen companies, major companies, selling these IP-based or networked audio-based solutions to broadcasters, and pretty much any new radio facility or any facility undergoing a renovation is putting them in because they just can't. The cost savings are inarguable, and we'll even look at some of those compared in a second. So this is kind of a short form run through the stuff that's in the book. My co-author Steve Church is the president of one of those companies doing that, probably the leading company in that space, called Axia Audio, part of the Telos audio empire that Steve started back in the, I guess, late 70s with the first digital telephone interface that, of course, is a broadcast product. He and I both come from radio backgrounds and have had a lot of fun working together on various projects over the years. And we'll be doing a presentation on this at the AES show next week. So let's look at what this means. As we say, networked audio is really this very new kind of paradigm for audio connectivity. And as we said, there's a lot of advantages to it. The term networked audio can be used to apply to a number of different companies' work right now. But the one thing they share is that the physical layer is carried on Ethernet-type cables, Cat5 or Cat6, Cat5e, and they typically use these RJ45 connectors that we're familiar with for plugging in Ethernet networking, and they use some sort of packetization, serializing all these multiple channels of audio on a single wire. After that, they kind of diverge, and it's a little unfortunate because it's not as interoperable as certainly analog audio is, or even regular TDM digital audio is by virtue of the AES-3 interface. There isn't that standard yet, but we're talking about that at this point, just getting started with AES and other standards bodies to think about ways to get these systems interoperable. But for right now, it's been very successful, even with the multiple companies that are doing their own kind of thing. So what we found is that probably the best way to deal with it is to try to make it as much of a based on the existing standards as possible, and only put in the proprietary secret sauce that you need as far out on the edge as you possibly can, just at the application layer, by using sort of the internet lingo of where it would be. And we'll look a little bit about that. This is different for the old school audio guys like me that think about a signal path as being blocks and arrows. Now you have to think of this thing like stacks and layers, and it's a real different world. It's pretty normal to people coming up through the digital world or the computer-based world, because that's the way all that works. So it really is a convergence of those two kinds of